I was just watching something and on the manosphere, and it left me with a bit of a thought, and it's just, I know that I'm probably gonna take some heat for saying this, but wow, those guys are fucking psychotic. And when I say psychotic, I don't mean that in the sense of wow, that's crazy, that's insane. I don't mean that in the sense of I'm trying to use it as an inflammatory term. I don't mean it in the sense that like I'm trying to incite controversy or behave in an insulting fashion. What I mean is I'm talking about the psychological state known to clinicians as psychosis, which is to be literally detached from reality. You see, I have heard these guys describe the social order. They describe that they say that we live, in a gynocentric social order. And my response to that is to think that we live in a gynocentric social order is a form of psychosis. It's a delusion. These people suffer from a warped interpretation of reality that bears no resemblance to the world that we actually live in. I needed to get that across. How do I know this, and how am I so confident that I would come in and diagnose them in this fashion? Well, I would posit the following. I have read up on gynocentric feminism, so I'm well aware of what it actually, suggests. And, the gynocentric worldview as a concept doesn't, believe that it thinks the whole economic pyramid is like flipped upside down to the way that it actually should be. And it basically posits that our society not only basically uh overvalues masculine work, and it it discredits and devalues women's work, and even when it compensates women well, it tends to do it for them performing masculine, or at least. See, I have a bit of trouble with this because there are people that are going to dispute me in the sense that they're going to say, "Well, that's not masculine or that's not feminine," and so it's like, I'm not looking to get into that hairy debate with you. What I'm saying is that our society codes these things as feminine or masculine, and because it does, that has implications. But the gynocentric worldview would take all that and take what our society codes as feminine and posit that it's actually worth a far greater benefit and merit to our society than what is described as masculine to our society. Which means that if you were to look at, to take that further, into something that would make sense, and to something that you could test our world to see if it was truly a gynocentric society, you would need to look at, for instance, how highly are, for instance, NFL players compensated versus how highly teachers were compensated. And we all know this. We know that we undervalue teaching and we overvalue the piss out of being an NFL player, which tells you that, you know, we don't live in a gynocentric society, because a gynocentric society would compensate the salaries of work that was coded as feminine by the culture at a higher level of compensation than it would work that was coded as masculine. Nurses are not paid anything like, the NFL players, probably even tech workers, and all this other, all these other really glaringly obvious realizations that, the manosphere and the red pill types should have been able to notice and pick up on. I mean, they think that they've taken the red pill, but in reality, what they've done is take a pill that, basically disconnects them from reality, and takes them further away into a psychotic flight of fantasy. We objectively do not live in a gynocentric social order. To think that we do is a fucking delusion. It's a psychotic delusion. We don't. And we can be certain of that because our society undercompensates teachers and overcompensates NFL players. That would not be the case in a gynocentric society.